Hey, everybody. It is showtime. I am here with Vinnie Tortorich. I'm Andy
Hello.
Schreiber. Hello, Vinnie. And we are here to do a live Q&A on your questions about keto on the go, how to stay in a keto lifestyle when you're busy and active and you're running around and doing the things that we all do in our lives. We're going to be joined shortly by the wonderful Anna Vocino, and we'll talk about some other things as well. And we're also, as part of this, we are offering a 25% discount on our ultra fat at NSNG Foods. And I'm going to bring that up now just so you see that with, I think our admin added this before me. So let's go ahead and add this again. I'm messing this up. There we go. Use code anniversary to save 25% at nsngfoods.com. With all that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Vinnie. Go.
Wow. So we're not going to turn this into some kind of big ad
No.
for ultra fat, because who wants to do that? If you like the stuff, you like the stuff. What we're doing here is, we thought, 3 years ago when we kicked this off, it was in the middle of, it was like smack dab that first summer of COVID. Someone's got to do a movie about that, the first summer of COVID. And
lockdown, it was crazy.
We decided, because we had been working on this product for a long time, it was ready to rock and roll. And we did the craziest thing anyone can do. We cranked it up right in the middle of a pandemic. The only pandemic I know of in my lifetime, and I'm sure all of you feel the same way. And we didn't know what would happen. Well, what happened was, a couple of things. One, we couldn't keep the stuff on the shelf. But two, on the day that we launched it, we did like a big, Andy, how many hours was it? It was 2 days.
It was 2 days. I've got the banner that we created for that behind me. It was 2 days. It was 8 hours each day on Saturday and Sunday. 3 years ago today was the first day, and we had I think 6 speakers each day, 6 or 7 speakers each day that would do 40 minutes on a subject within the overall topic of ketogenic eating. And then we would do 10 minutes of Q&A and a 10-minute break. And then we did I forget, like a half an hour lunch break. And what was shocking to us is that everybody stayed in. People came in, thousands of people came in and stayed all day, both days. It was unbelievable.
It was kind of like an electronic Woodstock. Now, here's the deal. We are guessing that many people stayed because everybody was bored as fuck by that point. And, but we just kept getting, people still ask me, hey, when are you guys going to do that again? Well, it's hard to get a Sean Baker and a Nina Teicholz and all of these different people, Kate Shanahan. It's hard to get these people just to show up on any given day. But Andy, I'm going to make this commitment. I'm not going to wait 3 more years to do a live Q&A. We're going to do this more often. And it doesn't have to be hooked to this company, but I'm going to start doing live Q&As, because I find that, people can call me and do consults and all that kind of stuff. And I get it. It's a bit pricey to do a consult. You get the one-on-one, and that's really good, and people really move ahead. But man, this is a way people could get something for free. And you know what? We have the company, so we'll just sponsor it every time we do it. How does that sound, Ange?
That's totally fine. We talked about this. We came up with this idea really just about a week ago. Yesterday, we came up with this idea to do this. And I think, I agree. We should be doing it more often. Maybe not like once a month or anything, but we'll come up with a reasonable schedule. But to get to the point, and I want to answer, Robin has asked us if we can remember to share this live on our socials. We're sharing this, Robin, on both the NSNG Foods YouTube channel and Vinnie's YouTube channel. And it was just going to get too complicated to share it on our socials. So after this live, this is going to live permanently on the NSNG Foods YouTube channel. And we'll be making sure that people know that if they want, if they missed it, they weren't able to join us and they want to watch it later, we can do that. But I'm going to be, as well as Chris, our trusty marketing genius who is in the background. We're going to be monitoring the comments, and we're going to do our very best to answer as many questions as we can. We have a way of just kind of setting them aside as the ones that that we catch that we're going to try to answer. So let's. I'm going to go right now to the ones that we're starring. So please answer your questions. And if we don't get to your question and it seems like it's been a while since you've asked it, ask it again, because if they come back, they come through too fast and furious, it's easy for us to meet them. Let's start with this one from...
But Andy, let's bring Anna in before we even start with the question.
Yes, let's do that. Anna? Say hello, Anna.
Are we here?
We're here.
Hold on. Hey guys. Oh wow. Oh, we got the triple screen. Hold on, let me back away from the camera. Hi, my name is Anna Vocino. I have a giant skull, and it was just confirmed by going live. Hi everybody. I think too what Robin meant was share on your socials, meaning like tell everybody on your socials because they might come and click through.
Right.
I sent an email blast out. I know Andy sent an email blast out, and
my list. So every list got one. So there you have it. Andy, let's start with the questions. Let's bring a question up and let's see.
All right. Let's start with the first one here.
Hi, Pumpkin. Rad says.
So Mark says, got anything good for sleep? Never had this issue before. I'm 59, work out every day, eat high protein, low, no carb diet, take magnesium, theanine, and now ashwagandha. Nothing seems to work.
All right. Here's the deal. Short of, I don't like going the drug route. I've never liked going the drug route. There are a few things, and a lot of this is going to sound bullshitty, but I've had more people that tell me that once they start doing this, everything changes. One, stop with the screens at a certain point. Whether it's this or a tablet or, you're watching, stop with the screens, because there's a strobing light and our brains pick it up and it really wires us in a weird way. So you have to get off the screens at some point, probably a couple hours before you go to bed. I know that's not what people want to hear, but think about it. We have more people. Every doctor I talk to says the number one thing people are coming, no one can sleep anymore. Everyone is having trouble with the sleep. So the screens, that's one thing. The other thing is start preparing yourself to go to sleep. Magnesium at night. Now, it doesn't have to be our magnesium. It could be any magnesium, but listen, if you take too much of the wrong magnesium, you give yourself, disaster pants. So be careful. That's why we formulate our broad spectrum magnesium the way we do over at that company at purevitaminclub.com. I literally take 4 of mine every night, and I do it about 2 hours before I go to bed. It starts to relax you. Magnesium has a calming effect on the body. They even make a product called Calm. You can go get that product, find it on Amazon if you want to. Calm works just as well. Again, disaster pants, but be careful. And then the other thing is, if you're taking a really good, what's it called? Anna, help me out. The natural.
Am I on it still?
Yeah.
Oh, there I am. Oh, okay.
You're in the whole time. Chris was changing.
I didn't know if I could talk because I wasn't on. Okay.
No, you can talk. You're still in the room.
Okay, great. Listen, with sleep, I have to be honest. I'm a terrible sleeper, and it used to be that I could fall asleep and then would wake up like clockwork at 3 a.m. and read for an hour or two, and then go back to sleep for a couple of hours. And it sucked, and it still kind of sucks. And the only thing that gets me to sleep is to do what you said, which is to really mind turning off the screens. And a Kindle Paperwhite to me is way better. I'm not going to turn on a light and read a book that way. And then other times I just get up and I start doing things. I know that sounds crazy, but I just need to tire out my mind. The thing that really works on the days that I lift heavy, I can sleep through the night.
So just like lift heavy, Serena just yelled down the stairs because she's watching upstairs. Melatonin. And here's the deal about melatonin. Not all melatonin is created equal, because this stuff is not regulated by the FDA. I literally take a brand. Whenever I take it, I take a 0.5 milligram, and that's way more than enough. Some people tell me, oh, Vin, I take 10 milligrams every night. Melatonin, you have to be careful. You have to know what you're taking. The one I use is made by Pure Encapsulation. I take the 0.5 milligram, not even 1 milligram, because I don't have much of a sleep problem. I just want to make sure I'm going to sleep deeply every night, because getting good rest, especially as we get older, that's the fountain of youth.
Absolutely.
So, and by the way,
take it early in the evening too, because it takes a while for it to get going with your body. Yeah.
And by the way, talk to your doctors before you start taking anything like melatonin. I just want to put that out there. Don't, but look, this stuff works. If you do it all, if you get away from the tablets, if you relax, dark rooms, reading at night, that kind of thing, everything will help.
Good.
Great.
Let's move to the next question. Let's show this question from Pete G. After cutting out 95% of the bad stuff we know about, he lost 35 kilos, 77 pounds, along with hiking every day, and some weights at home kept it off. Oh, I'm sorry, that was not a question. Let's go here.
Good job. Good job.
Yay.
Hey, come
You
on.
are
I'm
a
doing the best I
badass.
can here. I'm doing the best I can here.
No, I was saying good job to him, not.
There you go. Do ultra salts perform the same as Jigsaw electrolyte packets?
Okay, I don't know
what's in
those. I don't know. I thought we knew every product out there. Maybe Andy can quickly look it up while we're doing this to tell us what's in Jigsaw. I always tell people the top 3 electrolytes. Number 1, ours. And I'm not just saying that because it's ours. I'll explain why in just a second. And for folks who don't know, ours is called Ultra Salt, made at purevitaminclub.com. There's another one called S is in Sam, S caps.
All right. I can already tell you, I'm just looking up Jigsaw now. It's got all kinds of artificial sweeteners and flavors and silicon dioxide. In other words, it's got all kinds of junk in it.
It's crap. So right there, that's out. And the third product I was going to mention is salt sticks. Now, why is ours better than the other 2? I just named the top 3. The top 3: salt sticks, S caps, and ultra salt. Why is ultra salt better? Simple. We don't put any other crap in it. There's no psyllium. There's no titanium dioxide. There's no other fillers. There's no excipients or flow agents. So that's out. That's the other 2 companies who actually make a pretty good product. They have that in it. The other thing that we have is that basically what we did when we created ultra salt is we deconstructed sweat. Bottom line, we said, okay, what do you actually lose when you sweat? That's awesome. Exactly what we're going to put back in. So ultra salt is literally deconstructed sweat. Andy can tell you this story. We were at the Badwater 135, the hottest race on the planet. It's usually over 120 degrees when that race starts. And I want to say it was the first year we were sponsoring that event.
It was.
It was the scientist. He was a professor from some university, some prestigious. Andy, do you remember the university?
Yes, it was. I think it was in Chicago. I forget it was University of Illinois, whatever. It was one of the big universities in Chicago, and he's a professor. I think he was even chair of the Department of Chemistry.
Yeah,
at that university.
He came up to us, and I'm going to paraphrase this, but he started questioning Andy and me, and he was like, "How did you guys figure out this formula?" And we were like, "Well, we just figured it out." Basically, we worked with scientists to come up with the formula. We're not smart enough to figure this out. And he kept pressing. He was like, "No. How did you come up with this exact formula?" It was like, and finally we came clean and said, "Look, we hired some chemist over from a drug company, and they worked on the side and helped us come up with this formula. We told him exactly what we wanted." He was finally relieved that not 2 idiots came up with sweat. He's like, "You guys figured out the exact pH balance of what you're losing, and that's what you're putting back in." That's why I tell people, I don't just say it's the best because it's my company. I say it's the best because, quite frankly, it's the best product on the market.
I'm just going to add, I don't want to turn this into a commercial, but I want to add 2 more things about the formula. Number 1, one of the biggest problems that people have with electrolyte formulas is that they can be hard on the stomach. especially if people are using them for a lot of outdoor exercise, or if they're living in a, like if they're living in Florida right now where it's hot and humid, or in Arizona where it's a million degrees, is it can be very hard on the stomach. What we did is we made sure that we were using not just the right combinations to get that, as Vinnie said, basically replacing your sweat, is we used the most alkaline versions of all of the different minerals, so that alkaline is always easier on your stomach than things on the acid side. So we did that, including like one of the 2 forms of potassium we use is potassium bicarbonate, which, as you know, like sodium bicarbonate is baking soda, which is what you use to settle your stomach.
Right.
So that's the really the main point, is that we made it very alkaline so that it's easily tolerated and easily absorbed.
So, all right. So, yeah, we did go into an infomercial about one of our products, but there you have it. But look, everyone's hot and sweaty. I've been talking to my brothers down in Louisiana. It's over 100 degrees in 100% humidity down there. They're suffering. I don't think my parents have seen outside since April. So yes, this country's hurting right now with people sweating all the time. So make sure you're drinking tons of water, get salt. And if you want to get the best salt, get ultra salt.
I'm going to Seattle this weekend, and I've never been more excited to go to the Pacific Northwest. I hope it's cold and rainy, and I'm going to swim in it. I'm going to plunge into the freezing Pacific.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Next question from JB and KC. Is there a simple know your body way to know if your body is in ketosis, i.e., what will you feel?
And by the way, I saw another question about pea sticks or keto mojo. So maybe you could kind of dive into how do you know you're in ketosis?
Yeah. Well, if you've never been in dietary ketosis before and you dive deep, you'll notice, first few days you're going to have that keto flu, as a lot of people call it. That's when you're feeling headachy and blah, and I don't have any energy and all of this. Somewhere around what do you say, Anna, between day 7 and day 10, people usually meander into feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically your body is now using ketones as energy.
You get the mental clarity. You don't have the urge to nap as much.
And that's usually when you get the whoosh. You want to explain the whoosh, Anna?
Yeah, the whoosh is explained by Finney and Vogel. Is that his last name?
Yeah.
Doctors Finney and Vogel in their book, The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living. And I love this section because it explains weight loss so well. So the cell, let's say there's a cell with all the little goodies that are in a cell, and in particular fat, which is what we're concerned about losing and burning. Your body is so intelligent that if you're burning excess fat, it doesn't want to, it's not like the cell is going to automatically shrink. It wants to make sure that everything is okay. So it will fill that cell with water temporarily until it feels safe to release the water. And they call it the whoosh. And it has happened to all of us who've lost weight. Like nothing was happening. Then all of a sudden one day I dropped 3 pounds, and that's the whoosh. And you'll find yourself peeing a lot too. And that'll happen.
And then over the next several days, people who are, 300, 400, 500 pounds, they'll lose anywhere between 10 and even 25 pounds with the whoosh over the period of a few days. You're not going to feel, the thing about dietary ketosis is you're going to start feeling better. You're going to start getting some mental clarity. That's because you're eating a lot of medium chain triglycerides, this sort of thing. So that's where all that mental clarity and the extra energy is going to come from. Usually somewhere within 3 weeks or a month, you might have been a person who said, you don't understand, I can't get my ass off of this couch at all. And then all of a sudden you're out running and wanting to go out and walk or do whatever, right? Get on a bicycle for the first time in years. That stuff happens gradually. And I'm going to go back to something Dr. Finney said years ago, and I'll never forget this. I probably read this from him 18, 20 years ago. He said, if you think you feel great at a month, just wait until you get to 2 months. And if you think you're feeling great at 2 months, just wait until you get to 6 months, and so on. The only time you will notice, because it's one of those things, you just start feeling better and you don't realize how much better you're feeling, but then you'll start noticing things. And if you ever go back and have, you go to Taco Bell with friends or whatever, and you have a bet, that's when you're going to notice, holy shit, I can't handle this stuff anymore, right? That's when a real problem comes in.
I couldn't agree more.
I just you saw my face when you said Taco Hell. We've got another question here from, and pardon me if I'm not pronouncing this correctly, Dizanbot. I struggle to stay hydrated on hot construction sites in the summer. What are good foods to eat on NSNG to help retain water and replenish salt through diet and not supplements?
Okay, here's the thing. The food that helps you keep more water on than anything is a carbohydrate. It's right there in the name, hydrate. They will make you retain more water. That doesn't mean that you're retaining water in the muscle the way you want it to be maintained, right, or retained. When you eat a high fat diet, a high protein, high fat diet, and it's hot outside, you have to stay on top of your water. And it's not about taking any special supplementation. You should up your salt because you're losing salt all the time too. Think of the salt as being something that helps it stick in your body. You know, a few minutes ago, we talked about ultra salt, right? You're not just getting the salt, but you're also getting manganese, potassium, you're getting calcium, you're getting magnesium, you're getting all of it just the way you're losing it. But if you don't want to take a supplement, taking a lot of salt with your water is the way you want to do it. That salt is going to help that water stay in cell. Do not try to do it with carbohydrates. The reason I even mentioned that at the beginning is because if you go on the Google machine and do your research by reading the first two things you see, it's going to tell you to do that. But I'm here to tell you, I've been in this business for 40 years. It's wrong. That's the quickest way to dehydrate because it's not putting water in the cells where it's supposed to.
All right. Let's see. Let's look at this question from Amber. Trying to find food in the grocery store without sugars or grains is difficult. Do you recommend growing your own and hunting?
Sure.
Cancer survivor here and trying to get away from preservatives.
If you can hunt and grow your own, do it. If you have the time, that's amazing.
I'm not opposed to growing food and hunting food. I started hunting when I was a kid. I can't remember, 8 years old. Love hunting, and I love what you can read from hunting and fishing. Not much of a fisherman, even though my family did that in Italy, and they did it when they came here. They had a little fish market and what have you. But if you could go fishing and hunting and get all of your meat that way, knock yourself out. You're getting the best form of it that you can get. You don't have to worry about factory farming if you're doing that. But as Anna said, that it takes a bit, right?
Yeah, there's going to be a learning curve.
Yeah.
But also, too, sorry, go ahead.
I'm guessing if she says hunting, she's a hunter.
Yeah.
She probably already
I say do it.
Yeah.
If you got it in you, I don't have it in me. So instead, I befriend really kick-ass butchers who are going to do it for me. But that's okay. So listen, this is what Vinnie and I talk about a lot on the Monday show is how to read food labels so you're not getting preservatives or seed oils or junk or fillers or anti-caking or whatever. And so just especially being a cancer survivor too, you probably want to avoid any added sugars, pesticides, seed oils, all that stuff, So just listen back to any of the NSNG 101s that I know are on this YouTube channel, which you guys are all subscribed to, right? Like if there's 100 of you on this who are not subscribed, if you hit subscribe, it's going to take Vinnie to 20,000 YouTube subscribers. So I think if you're not subscribed, do that right now. Thank you. But yeah, so on right here, there's a playlist that has NSNG 101.
Yeah, and I was going to say also subscribe to the NSNG Foods channel. I've got another question here that is interesting. Let's show this from Rad Brown, who has a question about B12. Is there a connection with muscle fatigue, and is there any problem with taking too much? I can answer the second part of that, which is there is no problem with taking too much. There is no such thing as overdosing on vitamin B12. Your body will just pee it away. You literally cannot overdose. But Vinnie, I'll leave you to answer the question about connection with muscle fatigue.
Okay. Here's the deal. People think B12, well, they think this for good reason. They've been told this. Hey, get a shot of B12. You're going to feel great. B12 is not going to make you have super duper energy. No vitamin does that. But if you're lacking in B12, you can feel blah and low energy. And when you take B12, you'll feel instant energy, especially if you take it sublingually. In other words, you put it under your tongue. And, we make a sublingual, but even if you took a regular B12 and just cracked it under your tongue and let it go through your bloodstream that way, within a few minutes, you'll feel energy. Now, does it do anything special to your muscles? Not by itself. B3 has to be there with it. All the B vitamins work synergistically. B12 is one of the ones as we get older, we don't absorb it as well because it absorbs from meat and animal products in the small intestine. And a lot of times it doesn't work as well as we get older. We get older, things just don't work as well. But does it do anything special to give you super duper energy and anything in your muscles? Absolutely not. Not by itself. It has to be in concert with all of the B vitamins.
Wait.
That's right. As Vinnie was saying, vitamin B12 will not give you energy on its own unless the reason that your energy is low is because you are deficient in B12. So it's replacing energy, not adding, if that makes sense.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's replacing, not adding. Here we go. A question from Jim Hartman. When we stay on NSNG and then slip back with some sugar, how long does it take to work that back out of our bodies?
Okay, good question. It depends on how much sugar you put in, number one. But there is no way of doing penance, if you will. In other words, a lot of times people will say, well, I had a bunch of sugar. Now I'm going to go work out really hard. I'm going to try to deplete all of that sugar. I'm going to go to a spin class or do my Peloton. And what they will actually do is deplete their sugar from being in zone 3 and zone 4. And then their body has to maintain homeostasis again. So if you screw up, just know that you screwed up and then get right back on the horse and ride it in the direction it was going to begin with. Don't try to overcompensate for the screw up. You can't outrun a bad diet. And when people try to do that, they will get a sugar low from doing something weird. And then they're going to get another sugar low and they're going to want to come up again. Does that make sense? Am I making sense, Anna?
Yeah. Listen, that's a good way to know if you are working out too hard.
Andy, before we go to the next question, I got one here on my Instagram because a few people sent them there. This is from Wendy. By the way, I love Wendy. I've had a
Wendy's great.
Wendy, I got Wendy from one Mr. Mike Rowe. So
Mike Rowe's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I'm like I'm the beer to Mike Rowe being champagne as far as Wendy's concerned. She says
of men. The champagne of men?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Which beer was we're the champagne of beer? Which one was
Miller?
That? Miller was the champagne.
Miller High Life, I think.
Yeah.
The champagne of beers.
Yeah.
Don't drink beers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got a lot of carbs. So Wendy says, I'll be there tonight. Hey, Wendy.
She's right here. She's in the chat.
Okay. Here's my question. As you want to think, does meditation lower blood glucose?
Oh, yeah. That's a good question.
And it goes on. I know it leads for stress and anxiety and blah, 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 blah. And she wants to know about biofeedback. It's the same question, biofeedback. Okay. Indirectly, Wendy, yes. Indirectly. So what happens is when we're stressed, our cortisol goes up, your body is in flux, and we tend to, you might notice your blood sugar going up. Your blood glucose going up. People have noticed that with the CGMs, the continuous glucose monitors, because I tell them that. They'll say, I'm doing everything correctly, but all of a sudden, I'm not losing weight anymore. Usually, I get this from several groups of people. Truckers who had a daytime trucking route, all of a sudden they're doing dog shift, they're working nights. People who start bartending or doing a nighttime job, right? People who have brand new babies and puppies that are keeping them up all night. This is all stress on the body. And they'll notice, I've always said that for years. Oh, your weight loss stopped when you start staying up all night? Yeah. Okay, you need to figure out a way to deal with that because it's not going to go back down until you deal with that, right? So yes, Wendy, in that way, stress can cause that. Now, the second part of the question is she wants to know if biofeedback is real or bullshit. Little bit from column A, little bit from column B, but here's the truth. It seems to help more people than anything. People who deal with it, I know Mayo Clinic, they have a whole biofeedback thing. And Mayo Clinic, they're not into woo-woo crap. It's a major hospital. I think Sloan Kettering might have one. A lot of these big hospitals deal with biofeedback, and it works, and it's a real thing. But don't just go to some guru who just became a life coach last week and think you're going to get what you need, because that life coach was probably a fitness trainer before that, a hairdresser before that, and probably still is a dog walker. So that's what these people do, right? You need to find the real deal and not just go to your friend who decided to become this because nothing else seems to be working out.
Great.
Loves NSNG. Steak is great. Satiety. But when she's bummed out, life drama event, a pint of ice cream is calming in the moment. Meat isn't. Any alternative to carbs when you're stressed out?
Yeah, but you're not going to like it. Well, actually, there's two. Sex can help. And sex is close cousin masturbation. But other than that, exercise. Exercise is the greatest stress relief. And folks, it doesn't mean that you have to go get on a treadmill or a rowing machine. I'm saying that because I'm looking at a treadmill and a rowing machine here. You could just go outside and go for a walk. And I really find that things like this sounds like I'm bullshitting you, but I'm not. No. Even if you don't like classical music, put on some classical music in your earbuds and just let it wash over you and go for a walk. And believe it or not, that will help. I know it sounds like I'm crapping you, but do this. Ice cream will never help you in the long run.
That's right.
At all. I've never seen one situation where ice cream made it better. Ever. Period. No. I'm sorry.
I'm going to take another question, which is going to lead us into something I've wanted to do anyway. And so forgive this little bit of promotion here, but
Coddy Cod has entered the chat, by the way.
Croth, I don't know how to pronounce this.
Say that.
Are there going to be new ultra-fat flavors soon? And I will answer that, which is yes. And Vinnie and I have spent a lot of time trying to figure out what other flavors we can do. And in order to stick with our mandate of no artificial sweeteners, no sugars, no anything that, doesn't fit within keto or NSNG eating lifestyles, it's very difficult to find stuff that works. What we did figure out is 2 additional flavors, which we will be introducing before the end of the year, which require some new equipment for us. We're going to get a new nut grinder so that we can add one flavor that adds pecans and one flavor that adds hazelnuts. Now, I can't tell you when that's going to happen. We have to get the equipment. And in full transparency, the reason for that is buying pre-made pecan butter or hazelnut butter is astronomically expensive. We wouldn't be able to offer the product at anywhere near the price we do with our current flavors. But buying just plain pecans and hazelnuts, especially when you're doing what we'll be doing with them, which is grinding them down to butter, we don't have to get them all nice and whole and pretty. We can buy the broken up pieces. It doesn't make any difference, and make our own pecan butter and hazelnut butter. So that'll be happening within the next few months. And while we're on that, I did want to show you all how ultrafat is made. So I'm just got a short little video to show you what we do to make it. So here we go. That is the blending machine. We add all the ingredients. This is how we fill up the pouches. And there we go. We seal it. We have 2 different steps to sealing. It's that simple. And we do this all day long, every day. We have a great team in our commercial kitchen, which is near downtown LA. And that's it. So that answers your question. We do hope to have that up with those new 2 flavors before the end of the year. Let's go to another question. I'm going to go ahead and show this one, even though I don't know what this means. If I am good with my eating and don't mess up, is a CGM still needed or helpful?
That's Scott King. Scott King has lost over 300 pounds now. Scott, yes and no.
Vinny, why don't you explain to anybody who might not know, because I don't, what CGM means?
Constant glucose monitor, or continuous glucose monitor. And what it does is you basically you wear a little tab on the back of your tricep, and it's always checking your blood. You don't feel the little things in you. You stick them on. It's there for 2 weeks. You shower. You do everything. It stays on, and you have a Bluetooth app on your phone. I said yes and no on this for a reason. When you're first starting out and you're not Scott King, you're not a guy who's lost the 300 pounds. People call me and swear, no, you don't understand. I'm doing everything right. And when I get them on a CGM, they'll go, oh my God, my blood sugar shot up to 180. It shot up to 200. It shot up to X, Y, and Z, right? People don't realize what they're doing. That's how they figure out that when they get stressed, it goes up. They'll wake up and there'll be a dawn effect, and so on and so forth. Once you know what you're doing, you don't need it anymore. That's why when people say, well, Vin, you're pretty hardy-tardy over there. These things are $300. First off, they're not $300. You could get these things. You got to fight your insurance a little bit, but you could get them, and you could get them through different companies where it might cost $70 for every 2 weeks or $60 every 2 weeks. And you only really need it for 2 weeks or a month to really kind of hone in on what's causing the biggest problems, right? You don't have to have this thing year in and year out. Now, people with type 2 diabetes, they get them, doctors will get them for you at a nominal cost. It's incredible. But everyone else, you might have trouble getting one. You can get these things. You just have to really pay attention to how to do it. But you only need it for 2 weeks or at most 30 days.
Randall says here in the chat, $75 a month at Sam's Club Pharmacy. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I've had people, every time I talk about it on the show or put an Instagram up, they'll say, you're crazy. These things are $300-400 a month. And then I go and look, and I can find them. I'm not even in shopping for them. I can find them for $60-70 a month. So,
well, and I think part of the learning curve too is seeing, and I'm not advocating going off of NSNG because I, for one, have to be very strict with my NSNG. But I did have a few potato chips and I did have white rice. And so noticing for me that white rice did almost nothing and my body metabolized it very easily, and the potato chips spiked it tremendously. Now, for me, I'm not type 2 diabetic, so my body was able to normalize and regulate, because that's the other thing. It's like, does it spike it and then you're like dangerously high for a really long time, or is your body doing what it's supposed to do? So that's another educational thing that you work with your healthcare provider to discuss what everything is. And I also highly recommend you do. I'm not a huge fan of tracking things, but if you're going to spend the money on the CGM, track what it is that you're eating. Because when you do talk to your doctor, because you can, the thing that's cool about the CGM is the tech that goes with it. A CGM is not crazy technology. It's these apps now that they have with it. So track everything that you're eating in your meals during this test period. And it's a pain in the ass, but just do it. Take a picture of it at least and save it in the app. And then you can discuss what's going on with blood sugars and what possible foods are doing it. And then sometimes you'll see a direct correlation, sometimes you won't. But as Wendy mentioned in the comments, that's when she figured out how much her stress is correlated to her blood sugar. And let's say maybe you're intermittent fasting or you're doing a 24 or a 48, and you're like, how come I'm doing a 48-hour fast and my blood sugar is 110? You know what I mean? And it's because you're stressing your body out, and that's how you kind of learn and go, oh, that's interesting. And then you can decide how you want to move forward from there.
Look, my friend, Andy, by the way, Andy, whenever you're not talking, turn your mic off if you don't mind, because it's causing a big problem. That's better. And Anna, can you hear me?
Yes, you sound great.
So here's the thing. My friend Dave Feldman, he was on the show again this past Friday. It's a great episode. You might want to go listen to it. The first time I had dinner with Dave years ago, I want to say 2018, something like that, maybe 2017. We had known each other before that, but we were having dinner somewhere, and the food came to the table, and Dave took his phone. You know, he ordered 2 hamburger patties, and he spread them out on the plate. He put his fist up, and he took a picture of his fist next to his food. And I said, Dave, what are you doing? He goes, I'm tracking everything. Dave is one of these guys that just sit around and track everything all the time, right? And I was just talking to him the other night, and he goes, yeah, I'm still doing it. He's got tens of thousands of photos with his fist, you know, just to give some reference to what he's eating. And he tracks exactly the number of ounces and everything. And the guy's done incredible by doing that, you know, just incredible things. And of course, he's got a new study coming out, and I think that study is going to rock. He told me some stuff. I can't talk about it.
Oh, I want to know. I want to know.
I know you want to know.
Tell us a little bit.
I can't.
Why?
Sworn to secrecy. But it's a big study.
I hate your dumb bro code. I want to know what it is.
Not bro code. There's a lot of people who put a lot of money
into it. It's bro code.
It is.
All right. We're going to move to the next question to keep things moving along. And here was
Andy does not play these reindeer games.
Yeah.
He is not doing Mickey Mouse today. You know.
Hey, it's all about the business. Brittany, excuse me, Brittany, if I mess this up. Lowery, would you put together a list of the bad oils? Also, besides olive, avocado, and coconut oil, are there other good / non-inflammatory oils? For example, what about palm oil?
Go, Anna.
The list of bad oils are canola, corn, soybean, sunflower, safflower, cottonseed, rapeseed, grapeseed, which rapeseed is canola oil, grapeseed with a G. What am I missing here, Vin?
Did you say cottonseed?
Cottonseed, yeah, I did.
Yeah, and to a lesser degree, peanut oil.
To a lesser degree, peanut oil. Although I will say this, when people insist on deep frying their turkey at Thanksgiving, I say you're going to have to use peanut oil, because I would not want to spend the amount of money that it would cost to buy enough olive oil to deep fry your turkey.
Right.
So I will say for applications like that you're going to eat once a year, sure. But it's not something I'd have on the regs. Besides olive oil, avocado oil, which, by the way, olive oil and avocado oil, we want to make sure we get some high quality oil. You know, anything that's cut. Lard, beef tallow, suet. What am I missing?
She asked specifically about palm oil.
Oh yeah, palm oil. I mean, the thing is with palm oil is that you have to check the ingredients to make sure they're not cutting it with other stuff, because they will actually disclose that on the label. The other thing about palm oil is there's environmental talk about it, and that they're destroying some crucial rainforests in Indonesia to get it, and not necessarily replacing it. But I don't know all that's just I don't know.
Apparently, and Anna and I never do politics on the show for good reason.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a lot of politics, and we don't know which side is right and which side is wrong. So we can't even discuss it. But if you're asking as far as your health is concerned, nothing wrong with palm oil if it's pure 100% palm oil.
And not hydrogenated or anything like that.
Right. Or partially hydrogenated. That's another way they'll do it.
Yeah. I think the partially hydrogenated is supposed to not be in anything, but I would still read ingredients to make sure.
Yeah. I think Andy.
Oh, let me just say this, Sandra, as a follow-up. Sandra Curry says, I've heard conflicting info on whether avocado oil should be heated. Let me just talk about the olive oil smoke point thing. Because speaking of PR campaigns, which by the way, Vinny and I have our own PR campaign called The Truth about food, which is literally our life's mission for the past 11 years. And one of the things that happened in the 90s that really rolled into the aughts, the early 2000s, was grapeseed oil hired a tremendous PR/advertising firm. And they really harped on the smoke point of olive oil and calling it carcinogenic. And come to find out, this is not true. So and there's still lingering effects. It's almost like when people say like, oh, but saturated fat's bad for you. It's one of those things that you're like, no, olive oil, actually you could fry in it. You could deep fry. I don't recommend it again because it's very expensive. You can put it in the oven. You can cook many, many things in it. So the avocado oil thing, I don't know the answer to that because I don't know the smoke point of avocado oil off the top of my head, but I just wanted to address that. Made me think of the olive oil thing.
And I'm going to ask a follow-up question to that because you referenced both suet and beef tallow.
Yeah.
Can you say, because those are both beef fat.
Isn't suet a pork fat, like the kidney fat, or is it just kidney fat?
No,
it could be from any animal.
Suet is from beef,
okay.
Generally.
Got it.
So I don't know the difference between suet and beef tallow. Do you know the difference?
My understanding is that beef tallow is like marble fat that's cut off and then put into the package, and you could buy. Oh, I'm thinking of lard. Lard is
they have to render it first, and then
they have to render it, and then they pack it in a thing. And suet is particularly the fat off of the kidneys.
Okay, I see that. This
for
is
whatever
why
that means.
This is why I asked, because I did not know the answer to that.
Suet is something that I would have grown up eating a lot of, but I don't work with it now. But tallow, I love.
I keep tallow around. I've actually been known, this is crazy, to eat a tablespoon of it before I've gone out for a long workout.
And then you can make a candle.
If you would like.
Yes, you can make a candle out of tallow.
I'd rather ingest it.
Okay, that's fine.
Debbie, by the way, Debbie just wrote me, says avocado oil approximate smoke point is 520 degrees Fahrenheit. So there you go, folks.
There you go.
I saw a question I want to answer here.
Go for it.
Let's see. Oh, now it's going away here. It's from Shenanigans McFanigan.
Best username of the night.
Vinny, what are the best exercises to strengthen knees and ankles? The late great, I was going to say Vince Gironda, but it wasn't Vince Gironda. Who's my hero? I'm losing my mind here tonight. I've had such a long day.
Joe Bonadonna?
No, he was on television for all the years.
Jack LaLanne?
Jack LaLanne. Why can I come out with Jack? Vince Gironda was on my brain. Because Vince Gironda and Jack LaLanne, same age, and both incredible trainers. Jack LaLanne came up with an exercise called the leg extension. So if you have bad knees, or if you need to strengthen knees, depending on what your problem is, that's one of the exercises. And you don't have to go heavy on a leg extension. And again, depending on the problem, a leg curl, which is doing it backwards. So leg extensions when you're sitting on a bench and, extending your legs out. Okay. Leg curls, usually you're upside down or whatever, but the weight is underneath and you're pulling it back. That's a leg curl. In some cases, if you have a problem with your knees, squats, lunges, leg press, a lot of shear force right on the joint, it might not be the best thing for you until you get it checked out and find out what the problem is. But leg extensions, leg curls. As far as the ankles go, ankles are very difficult to strengthen. I would say do a lot of calf raises. That helps one side of it. But the other side of it is if you can get something under the front of your foot. We used to do it with a dumbbell, where we get a light dumbbell, put it on your foot, and just raise it up so that you're causing that ankle, the muscles around all throughout your ankle to work. It's the only way to get around it. They do make little apparatuses to do that. Is apparatus or is it apparati? They do make those.
Multiple, then it's apparati.
Apparati. they make those so you can do that same exercise to work the front of your ankle.
I want
Go on.
I want to add something here because I happen to be a newly minted expert on this because I just had a knee replacement. Tomorrow will be 19 weeks ago.
Wow.
And one of the things that has helped me a lot that I've been working on with my physical therapist is hamstring stretches. If your hamstrings are tight, which mine tend to be anyway, and now the one on my right leg where I had the knee replacement, they're especially tight. It's actually very helpful for strengthening the knee. Would you agree with that, Vinnie?
You couldn't get me to disagree. All stretching is good to strengthen any joint, but you can't overdo it. You got to be careful. If you have a real problem, talk to a doctor, talk to a physical therapist, listen to them first.
100%. Let's move on to the next question from Jennifer Mendica. How do I know if I'm eating too much or too little fat?
It's Jennifer Mendica. She is the original Jennifer. She's Jen.
Apologies, Jennifer Mendica.
That's a rough one. I tell people when they first start losing weight, and Jen, I've been working with Jen privately. I tell them at first when we're trying to level off their sugar and get them off the sugar train, I tell them to eat as much fat as they want to, right? Because sometimes people, you got to remember there's a psychological portion to all of this. And sometimes people feel like they're on a high wire without a net, and they're white knuckling it and they're gripping it, and they don't want to screw up and they don't want to eat too much. But at first, I don't care about people losing weight. I tell them to eat as much fat as you want because you could come back around, right? When you're on the sugar train, you're having sugar highs and sugar lows. Once they level off, right, then you start pulling some of the fat out. I always tell people if you could keep somewhere between 50 and 60% of your diet, your calories every day coming from fat, you're fine. If you find you start getting hungry and you're going too high in protein, that's usually when you start feeling hunger pangs. Up the fat. See, this is not, we've been so programmed to think that everything has to be, eat this for breakfast, eat, all the diets, eat our bar for breakfast, our shake for lunch, and have a sensible dinner. We've heard these kinds of things our entire life. Weight Watchers.
Have cabbage soup all day.
Drink cabbage soup and you lose 20 pounds by next week. Weight Watchers, here's your points. You can do whatever you want. You cannot use any of the points and have 3 brownies and ice cream at night. This is not that. This is getting you to reprogram. And you got to, you have to be mindful. See how you feel about everything, right? That's, go with feelings. How do you feel? You don't feel energetic? Eat more fat. You feel like you're getting hunger pangs? You're too high in protein, too low in fat. You have to keep that going every day. It's up to you to figure it out.
All right, let's go to the next question. And this is going to be from Jay Russo. What are the best breakfast meals other than eggs and bacon?
Vinny, what's your favorite cereal?
Bacon and eggs.
Really?
Yeah, bacon and eggs. So, all right, if you know, look, I do a lot of other things other than that. Sometimes it's leftover beef from the night before. Sometimes I will do ground beef for breakfast with avocado and cheese. I mean, why not? Sometimes it could just be avocados and yogurt. You could do different things. You don't have to stick to just bacon and eggs. We've come to know that breakfast is either bacon and eggs or cereal. Well, that's foolish.
Pancakes or French toast.
Right.
With a glass of orange juice, part of a balanced breakfast.
That I like to do for breakfast is smoked salmon. This is my Jewish heritage speaking, but I like some smoked salmon, some lox in the morning with some either cheese or cottage cheese or cream cheese, something that, so I'm leaving out the bagel, but I'm having the smoked salmon, maybe a couple slices of tomato and some sort of cheese.
So look, I mean, that's fish and fruit for breakfast is basically what he's having. Breakfast, I've often said, way back whenever, I probably haven't had French toast in 35 years. But whenever on occasion I would have something, I'd be somewhere and people, you must try the French toast. This place is known for its French toast. Every time I've ever had French toast, number one, I can never finish it. Not even close. Number two, I've often said, this is dessert for breakfast, right? I mean, I've never had a dessert that sweet in my life. That's the sweet. I mean, they're giving you toast with powdered sugar and, eggs cooked onto it, and a ton of syrup and honey. I mean, it's the sweetest dessert you've ever had. And people are having that for breakfast. It makes no sense. Go on.
No, go finish your thought.
That's my thought.
I was just going to say, looking back after having done this for so long, I should have seen the writing on the wall, because I was the one kid who hated pancakes and French toast. I hate maple syrup. I hate pancakes. I hate French toast. I think they're too sweet and they make me nauseous. And I wonder, I don't know if it's a gluten thing or a carb thing, but regardless, I was always like, this is gross. I feel awful after I eat this. And I would always rather have bacon and sausage over, like, I would just focus on the bacon and sausage over every other part of breakfast if I had access to that kind of food, because that was expensive for my mom back then to do that kind of food. But now I know what I know, and Eat Happy, both the Eat Happy books do have breakfast chapters, and the next Eat Happy book, even though it's a low carb Italian book, even has a breakfast chapter, because it's we're still Americans and we like to eat our breakfast. But I think something that's really important too is saving all of your leftovers, even if it's just a little bit, because you'd be surprised how much, like, a little tiny reserved bit of veg and meat mixed with some eggs the next day is just so good. The flavors have had a chance to marry. And instead of always just doing plain eggs and butter, which, don't get me wrong, plain eggs and butter is delicious, but you can get tired of it. I hear you people when you say you get tired of it. I get it. But saving the leftovers from the night before is really clutch, even if it's just like a tiny little portion spread out over the eggs. And then I guarantee you'll find something else in the fridge that you can, like, chop up and throw in there. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I threw herbs in there and I put a little dollop of cream cheese. Now I have this amazing breakfast.
I do that all the time. And I'll look at my fridge, and if I had hamburgers the night before, whatever, I'll take some hamburger meat, whatever it is. If I had broccoli that, I steamed and I've got a little of that, I'll throw it all in there with the eggs.
Yeah.
We're going to have another question now, and this is from Carlos. Hey, Carlos, I haven't talked to you in a long time. How many Ultrasalt or other electrolyte capsules do you recommend per hour in hot, humid environments? He finds himself taking 2 per hour.
I know Carlos, and I know that he's an ultra runner, and I know where he is. So he's in hot, humid area. I don't know how in the hell he's doing it down there. If he wasn't a Marine, I would say he was crazy, but he knows what he's doing. 2 an hour is about right, because when you think about it, Carlos, you're going to probably have 30 ounces of water. So I always measure it, every 12 to 15 ounces of water, I take an Ultrasalt. So I'll give you an example. Whenever I use this jug a lot, and this jug is 40 ounces, I'll put 3 or up to 4 in here, but usually 3. And I find that to be the perfect mix. It's hot where I am, it's humid where I am right now. And for every time I fill this up, 3 Ultrasalts, and this is 40 ounces. So 2 an hour for what you're doing is probably about right. And how you're feeling. You've done a bunch of ultras. You've gone through Marine training and all of that stuff. So 2 is about right. Andy, I can't hear you.
He forgot he's muted.
I forgot I was muted.
He looks pretty, though.
Yeah, he does.
From Amy Daniels Salinas, what if my doctor nags me about my high cholesterol and says I'm going to have a stroke? She's 48. When I go to NSNG, my cholesterol goes up. What do I do?
What? Your doctor says you're going to have a stroke. Jesus Christ.
Change doctors. That's number one. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, first, just having high cholesterol, number one, what is high cholesterol? That's the first thing you have to ask yourself. And that part was rhetorical. Amy, don't tell me what your cholesterol is. But doctors, there's a little something called standard of care. And doctors are basically they're not mandated. That's the wrong word. Doctors are scared. And
Mhm.
most doctors, let me tell you something about doctors. Most of them suck at business. So they belong to these big groups. And these groups will say to them, listen, this is standard of care. This is what you do. If someone comes to you and their cholesterol is over this number, just recommend a statin. Whether they take it or not is up to them. But we want you to put in their chart that you saw cholesterol number of X, therefore you mentioned Y. And then if that person happens to die of a heart attack, probably nothing to do with cholesterol, then we can say, we were covered. We told Amy to be on a statin, right? But here's the deal. And I've had this problem. I've talked about it on the podcast. I went to a doctor when I first moved to Virginia. And she, it was my first meeting with this doctor. It was my new doctor. And I went in, and towards the end of the meeting with the doctor, they gave me a blood test. Now, I didn't know I was going to be taking a blood test that day. Number one, when you take a cholesterol test, you need to be fasted. So they took a bunch of blood work. They want to check out my blood, make sure I was okay, and all of this stuff. And the doctor called me several days later. I was in my car, and she said, good news, all of your numbers came back. Absolutely. I mean, my God, picture of health, your blood, everything is great, but I'm a little concerned about your cholesterol. It's a little high. And I said, you don't say. And she goes, yeah, and your LDL, the bad cholesterol. Now again, this is fear mongering. The LDL was a little high. So I think we need to put you on, and I'm quoting her, a light statin. A light statin. I said, interesting. I said, Doc, what was my ApoA and ApoB? She goes, oh, we didn't look at that. I said, oh, it's interesting. So you don't know what my small particles were doing? No, we don't need that to, your cholesterol overall is too high. Right. And I went, so you didn't check ApoA, ApoB. You don't know what my small dense particles are doing. Nothing like that. I said, you said my triglycerides were 45. Did you measure that against my LDL cholesterol? Because that ratio matters. And she goes, no, we don't do that. See, these are all markers as to whether you're going to have heart disease or not. And she was measuring none of it. And I said, Doc, did you know that no one at your office told me to fast? So when I came in, I wasn't fasted. Matter of fact, I had a full breakfast about 30 minutes before I walked in there that morning. He goes, oh, well, that makes a big difference.
Vinnie, I'm gonna interrupt for a second because there's a question here that relates to this. I'm gonna put this up now from BCar617. Can you give us the Cliff's Notes definition of ApoB and what number should concern us?
Okay, let me finish my story and I'll get to that. And the answer is no, but I'll get to that. So the bottom line is that a doctor was recommending a drug that has serious side effects, not knowing if I was fasted and not ever checking any markers that would actually put me at risk of heart disease. As it turns out, I went to an actual cardiologist and they said, I have no problem whatsoever. Now, I'm not a doctor and I can't really sit here and talk about ApoA and ApoB, but it's the particles and there's a ratio. And I'm going to give you some doctors who talk about this. You can go check out their blogs and you can go check out their sites and they will explain what these are. Not only explain, but they might even show you the ratio. And this is not something I can do here on this. One is my friend, Dr. Philip Ovadia. I Fix Hearts is his book. As a matter of fact, I think his book, I Fix Hearts. His book is called Stay Off My Operating Table. His website is I Fix Hearts. I think that's how it works. Another friend, Dr. Trocalazian. You can go look at what he's talking about. Trocalazian, he's at drtro.com. You can check out Brian Linsky's. He's another great doctor that's talking about this stuff. You can go look at Dr. Eric Westman over at Duke University. He'll give you the lowdown on what I'm talking about. And you can go to Dr. Brett Shear. He's out in California. You can check out all of these guys online. Shear spelled S-C-H-E-R, Brett, B-R-E-T, 1 T. Go check out any of these doctors. Dr. Tony Hampton up in Chicago, another great one. Why would I leave out Dr. Ken Berry and Dr. Baker, Sean Baker? All of these guys talk about this stuff, and they're qualified to talk about it, and they will show you the ratio. I gave you guys the order in which I would go see these people, Ovadia, or go look at their sites, Ovadia, Trocalasia, and Brian Linsky's, Brett Shear, and then down the list, Tony Hampton, and so on and so forth. All of these guys will give you the lowdown on what's going on with your ApoA and ApoB and how that ratio matters with your triglycerides. And by the way, if you do have, if you're susceptible and you have a lot of small dense particles, you may have to be on a statin. Statins can help save some people's lives. Notice I said some people. Not everybody is supposed to be on a statin. Certainly not me, and maybe not you. But that's something you have to figure out.
It's just like antibiotics, which have a great purpose when they're applied correctly. But a lot of doctors, you're sick, you might have a cold and they'll give you an antibiotic, which is ridiculous, or the flu, which is not going to do anything except for make you more antibiotic resistance.
Right.
Let's go to another question. And this is from the Apollo 2200. Any advice for someone experiencing gut issues? I know some people have issues going to the bathroom on keto. What if you have the opposite issue? And I think we all know what they mean by that.
Well, let me also piggyback on this, because Debbie wanted me to make sure I asked the question, because I think a lot of people experience constipation, or what they think is constipation, versus the feeling of there's less volume because you're not having the carbs. So I was hoping Vinnie could address that and the gut issues. And by the way, I have 2 autoimmune diseases of the gut. So if you guys ever want to talk about gut stuff, I'm your gal.
Yeah. When it comes to either diarrhea or constipation, it's all one and the same. Usually when people start this, when they start cutting out a lot of junk, there could be problems. If you have a more severe gut problem, like Anna has, she has celiac. Anna has celiac before celiac was cool.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
There are people with IBS, Crohn's disease,
colitis.
Colitis. And look, this is all anecdotal, but I've had people with Crohn's, colitis, IBS, and of course what Anna has. They will do a lot better because all of those are autoimmune problems. And when you start eating right, you could have a problem at the beginning, but hang in there. Look at what different foods do, right? Maybe you can't have nuts. Maybe you can't have dairy.
Sure.
You have to start playing around with it and see what's causing the problem. It's not the diet overall that's causing the problem. It could be something in the diet that reacts with your, people have trouble with FODMAPs and all these different, things, so you have to look around and see what your problem might be. And the only way you
require testing things.
Yeah, you got to, Anna will tell you the way they used to test for celiac is they would take you off of anything that had that protein. And if it cleared up, that means you had celiac.
Yeah.
There was no test for it.
And now the irony being, if I'm going to test for it, now I have to eat gluten. So I'm not going to, I've already had 3 endoscopies. I'm good. So I already know I have it. But now with the colitis, it's a very interesting thing. Roadie Girl Tarot, I noted you said earlier that you help manage your Crohn's with NSNG. I didn't realize you have celiac too. So you get it. If you have gut issues, it's always going to be a little more experimentation. And just, I would say too, from a mental and spiritual and emotional standpoint, don't get frustrated by the people who are like, well, I just did NSNG and it's great. And then I eat all this dairy and all these things. And you're like, hey, well, it might be a little more difficult because your body's got more going on and you might not lose as much weight at first. It's not going to be about the weight. It's going to be about getting healthy. And so just know that when you're choosing different foods, you're going to have to experiment. And I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend that you find a GI doctor, because you can get all these different tests. Because maybe you don't, IBS is a catch-all. It's a kind of a loose, vague diagnosis. It's a catch-all. You could have C. diff. You could have H. pylori. You could have something going on. You could have something you might need to do a stool test. You might need to do a colonoscopy. They might need to see what's going on with you, or an endoscopy. So take advantage of the fact that they can go inside of your intestinal tract and take a look, and they can biopsy stuff and see what's going on. So I just want to put that out there, because I think it's a lot of guessing games with the gut, and it's hard when that's the case. And also too, the gut is so linked to depression and those issues because of all the serotonin receptors and dopamine receptors that are in the gut. So it's very complicated, and don't be hard on yourself, and take your time and do some investigating.
Thank you.
All right. Next question from Daniel. Again, forgive me if I'm getting this wrong. Duhan, NSNG and toddlers / kids, any concerns or issues, assuming it's better than the SAD, the standard American diet?
Okay. My friend, Dr. Tim Noakes, it was the tweet heard around the world. He made recommendations to kids a few years ago, and South African courts took him to task twice, and he won twice, because he basically told the mother of a toddler that eating meat and vegetables and fruit is what a toddler should eat. And they took him to court. Our friend Nina Teichos went there and testified. A lot of people testified. I can't sit here and tell you what to feed your toddler. But what I can tell you is, if you're feeding your toddler animal proteins, including meats, dairy, eggs, so on, and you're giving your toddler cruciferous vegetables, and even non-cruciferous vegetables, asparagus, and fruit such as tomatoes. I'm losing my train of thought. Tomatoes and other fruit like avocados and olives, and on and on and on.
Berries,
cherries. Your kid is going to be healthy, right? There is no need at all for any kind of grains, right? Why cause inflammation in your kids early? Sugars. I mean, yeah, your kid's going to go to parties and have cake and ice cream and what have you, but to put it in them every day at breakfast, and it's amazing to me. Everybody wants their kids. Check your mic, Ange. A lot of people want their kids to. Andy, cut your mic off. A lot of people want their kids to be smart in school and do all this stuff, right? And the first thing they do is load their kids up with a bunch of crap in the morning, right? It's the opposite of making a kid strong, giving that kid a strong brain, the best chance they could get in school. Everybody's trying to get their kid in the best preschool so that they could be in the best kindergarten, so they could get in the best this school and that school so that the kid can succeed. And the first thing they're doing is screwing all of that up by giving that kid crap first thing in the morning.
So you're saying a bowl of Fruit Loops is not good?
Probably not.
Okay.
Berry is the same. And Count Chocula, I'm remembering ones from when I was a kid.
Blueberry.
Yeah, Blueberry. And I have to admit, when I was a kid, I loved Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries, but I didn't know any better at the time.
We never had that. We God, man, we were Amish. We had cornflakes.
You had what?
Cornflakes. That's
All
what
right.
my mom would buy, cornflakes.
Not even Frosted Flakes.
We didn't even eat.
By the way, both cornflakes and Frosted Flakes and Raisin Bran are all terrible because they all get soggy, and there's nothing grosser than soggy cereal. Again, another thing I hated. I always hated. I hated it. The writing was on the wall, Vin.
Yeah,
I
didn't want this peasant food. I wanted the bacon and the sausage.
We would ask for cereal, and she would give us cornflakes, and she would literally say, "If you tell your grandmother I gave you this, I'm getting rid of all of you. You can go live with it because I'm leaving."
All right. I just want to answer very quickly to Colette. Yes, this is being recorded, and you can watch it later on the NSNG Foods YouTube channel. It'll be there. It'll live there forever, as long as there is such a thing as a YouTube channel. Here's a question from Andres Gamboa. What do you think of intermittent fasting?
Boy, what a loaded question.
In 10 words or less.
Oh God. Well, in that case, I'm moving on. Here's the deal. if someone is fat adapted and they don't want to eat breakfast and they want to continue their fast until lunch, knock yourself out. And of course, that gets into that short eating window. Knock yourself silly. I'm fine with all of it. I don't have a problem. The problem I find, because you got to remember, I've been doing one thing for 40 years, helping people get in shape and lose weight. Whenever people start getting into intermittent fasting, they start getting into diet trickery, right? They're trying to trick some part of their diet. Oh, I can have this at night because I'm going to wait until noontime the next day. Trickery happens. Before you know it, they're doing OMAD, also known as one meal a day. I've seen people gain more weight. Most of the people, now I'm on my soapbox. When I'm on the consults, one of the main things out here is then it was all working and then all of a sudden it's not working anymore. And when I interview these people and find out, because I got to, when I get on the phone, I don't know who you are. But inevitably, what I learned from a lot of these people is they were doing this, they were losing weight, but everybody gets impatient and they read something on the internet or they watch some guy on YouTube or on Instagram talking about IF and they go into that and they try that. And the next thing, they're trying to serve too many kings, right? And it just doesn't work, right? They start screwing up their metabolism again. They get back into the diet mindset. Everything I've been trying to do here on this internet for the past 11, 12 years, Anna, whatever it's been, is get people out of the diet mindset. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm here for you. I'm not at all reading the comments and zoning out.
No, it makes sense.
I think it's a personal thing. If you experiment with it and it's not working, stop doing it. Stop thinking you have to fast more harder.
Yeah.
I think that's the danger, because we always think like, well, if I just restrict more, that's my problem. I'm not restricting enough. So then it becomes like, well, I'm going to overpower this, and it becomes a mental game. But then other people are like, yeah, I just started fasting. Or I actually do know people who do OMAD and they thrive. And I'm like, oh, good for you. I would hate that. So it's an individual thing.
Yeah, I'm reading here. Oh, it's Wendy. You've successfully gotten me out of a diet mindset. Yeah, and Roadie Girl wrote, yeah, I can't get away with one meal a day. Yeah, some people can. I'm going to name drop here, why can't I remember names tonight? Mickey Hargitay, the first Mr. Olympia. He was married to Jane Mansfield. It was Mariska Hargitay's dad. He was one of the first people I ever knew that would eat one meal a day. And that meal used to be vegetables and meat and a lot of it. And he successfully did that and lived into his 90s, and the guy was lean and mean, right? But not, and I get it. People who do that, they do that. Not many people can.
All right, let's move on to the next question. And this is, and it was asked a while ago, so I hope they're still with us, from Nameless Robotics. And this is a good one for Anna as well. I'm a very newly diagnosed celiac and having a hard time with NSNG. I think I have deficiencies and craving fruit and hungry all the time. Any advice?
Well, first of all, you probably do have deficiencies. You can get a DEXA scan. You should have your blood levels checked. There's also, at least check for iron deficiencies. I know that when I was diagnosed at age 28, I did a DEXA scan and I have osteopenia at the age of 28. I'm going back for another DEXA scan finally 20 years later. Very soon. I was anemic. Yes, if you are a long time suffering celiac, especially if you've been doing that for a while and not realizing that that's how you were sick, because celiac can present in all different ways. And every single person who's ever been diagnosed for celiac has a different story from somebody else. So it can present as lymphoma. It can present as, oh, I don't really feel it, but you all of a sudden get really sick in one way or another. So you probably are deficient, and you're just going to have to take some time for your body to heal. Good news, 20 years later, I had an endoscopy, actually 19 years after I was diagnosed. I did an endoscopy in 2021, and literally the report came back there is no evidence of celiac disease, meaning the villi in the small intestines had completely repaired. Now, that is from a lifetime of maintenance and making sure that I avoid gluten. And if I get gluten bombed, I try to stay away from stuff. That's a good thing. Actually, I'm glad you found out you have celiac, because you know what? You will be less apt to cheat on your NSNG, because you can't really have a lot of the things that people are like eating sheet cakes and pizzas and cupcakes and whatnot. And you just can't do it. So, because you'll make yourself sick. So I just want to chime in with that. You definitely have the deficiencies. And I'm sure Vinnie will talk about craving fruit and hungry all the time, because that's part of the transition of adjusting your hormones to be healthy. But you need to tamp down your immune system and don't eat stuff that's going to activate it. And grains will activate your immune system if you have celiac.
If you're feeling hungry all the time, eat more. And that more should come from fat. Until all of that's what I was talking about earlier, until all of that subsides, right? And then you can start controlling how much you're eating and trying to get more protein in. But if you're feeling hungry all the time and you're craving fruit, basically you're craving sugar. Your brain is still trying to hang on to that sugar train. You have to get off of that sugar track.
Oh, let me chime in to say one more thing. Sometimes people with gut issues, you'll have problems with absorption. And if your immune system's tamped up, you won't absorb as much. Digestive enzymes help, especially if you're starting to eat more meat than you're used to. HCl betaine, or betaine HCl, I never remember what it's called, is wonderful for helping you metabolize meat until you get used to it. Our stomach receptors are pretty smart. So it might take a little bit of time to adjust. So you don't have to do the things, but I found that if you're helping your stomach use these enzymes, because you might have a damaged stomach and intestines that aren't producing the enzymes until you heal yourself. So just want to throw that out there.
All right, we're going to go to another question. This is from Pete G. How bad is low carb beer, 1 carb a beer? And thoughts on butternut squash. My only 2 bad things on 90% meat, fish, and eggs, and an avocado a day. So his 2 bad things are the 1 carb a beer and butternut squash.
I wouldn't demonize butternut squash, but that's
not
just
at
me.
all.
Yeah, I'm not going to demonize it either. Now, if you're someone who's mashing up butternut squash and eating a pile of it every day, I don't know.
And you have the patience of a saint, because those things are a pain in the ass to peel and cook.
But you know what I'm saying? It's
Yes,
like, wait,
I know.
Vinnie said butternut squash. Honey, start making butternut squash, just big pile. People have done stuff like that. I had a friend, and she was an alcoholic. And she would, her thing was beer. And she was a really tall girl. She was like 6 feet tall. But when she drank, she would drink her beers every day, and she had the beer gut, right? And whenever she would go on a beer diet, she would just go to the 1 calorie, the 1 carb beers and the whole thing. And she would actually lose a few pounds for about a week. But that was it. She wasn't losing the whole gut. She wasn't getting healthy. There's no way to get healthy drinking poison. And that's what beer is. It's poison. So I can't sit here and go, and look, I know you're saying, well, screw it. If I can't have beer, I'm not in. Is 1 carb beer better than regular beer? Sure, to a degree. But you'll get to a point where you'll stop losing weight again. You might lose a few pounds doing that, but you're not going to get lean. I used to be one of those guys back when I was a model that was in the commercials, digging the volleyball up, because, apparently guys that looked like me were beer drinkers. Yet nobody on that set was a beer drinker. So,
what got me is moving to Hollywood and seeing, how people, they don't drink beer, and they don't. And if you see a starlet out at a party, she's got a white wine spritzer. That shit is cut. You know what I mean? Like, she's holding her drink, but barely drinking it.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how, don't get me wrong, people are definitely alcoholics, but you'd be surprised how much of the sugary drinks people drink.
Oh, look, if you're a heavy
little,
drinker in Hollywood, it's basically vodka.
Yeah.
That's, and that's before the Vinnies of the world came along with the low carb. People knew, look, you don't want to gain weight. Don't Don't drink any of the beer. Don't drink the wine. Just walk around with the vodka in your hand.
That's what I do.
Yeah, look at Anna.
Just kidding. It's water.
I got 40 ounces. Carlos, you thought this was water and salt? 40 ounces.
It's tequila and salt. He puts his Clase Azul in a binky and a sippy cup.
I've got the hard stuff here. I've got sparkling water.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Andy, it's a rough road.
It's a rough road. I just saw another question. Now I lost it. Hang on a second. Here we go. What do you think coffee works as an appetite suppressant?
For me, it does, but for a lot of people, it suppresses adenosine. We know that, but a lot of people will drink coffee in order to get over, feeling like they want to eat something or a quick pick-me-up. But an actual suppressant, Andy, we don't have any research on that, do we?
No, we don't. But what I will say is, what for me is, I don't know if it's an appetite suppressant, but it makes me feel more full in a good way, is adding some heavy whipping cream to my coffee.
Yeah, I get that same feeling whether I do cream or not. And look, I drank a quadruple espresso right here. I had espresso up to here. And it's 10:30 right now. I've still got coffee. I'm going to finish it. I'm one of those people that can drink coffee, brush my teeth, go to bed. Right. And
I can't do that.
I'll have coffee throughout the day. And I'm the lucky few. But an actual suppressant, I don't have information on that.
Yeah, I have looked at stuff on that, and the studies are mixed on that. So it's hard to say, but I think it's very clear that if you're adding some kind of a healthy fat to it, whether you're doing the what you call it when they add the butter, the bulletproof, when you're adding the butter, or you're adding heavy whipping cream, because you're putting some good healthy fat into your body, and that is going to make you feel more full. So that does work for sure.
Yeah, and by the way, when you're adding butter and cream and all that, you're basically having a meal.
Yeah.
I mean, that can easily be 500, 600, 700 calories right there.
Yeah. Here's a question that goes back to one of our products. Is ultra fat good or necessary before a workout, and would it help with performance?
Necessary, no. Help with performance, yes.
That was exactly going to be my answer to that. Let's see. Some questions are getting to being too medical for us. So if I haven't answered a question or brought up a question, it might be because it's kind of too medical, and we try to stay away from real medical advice because that's not what we do, and it's not appropriate for us to do. Here's a good question. Where do you buy beef that has no hormones or other crap in it?
Talk to your butcher.
Yeah, that's easily. I mean, go to a good go to any good, butcher, and you're gonna know. You can talk to them; they'll tell you exactly where the meat came from.
Yeah, talk to the butcher. Don't forget that you don't have to do grass-fed, grass-finished. You can, talk to them about if you're any local ranch shares. Oftentimes, at least around here, I do live in cattle country. There's also Susie DeMeester is a great resource because she literally does this for her work and can help you source ranches and farmers that do high quality beef, farmer ranch shares. For chicken, you want to look for the word pastured. Free range is kind of a bullshit term that just means like they can open the roof of the pen for like a few minutes a day, and they're not actually like free ranging. Like they got 8 minutes of sunshine. Pastured is the word you're looking for. What else, Vin? Like, the wild caught. It's going to be different than the farm raised. Yeah. Nutritionally, is it different? I don't think so.
Not a whole lot. It's, look, you can always, we go to different butchers. We know we go to Harris Teeter, we go to Whole Foods, we go to the butchers in town. We go to wherever there's a deal right now. And look, there's, Joel right down the street, that guy that makes, incredible beef. There's all these different people. sometimes people bring me wild meat, and we do a lot of that. Someone was asking about hunting earlier. I always tell people, do the best you can, because not everybody. And by the way, places like Costco, they have really good beef.
Yeah.
So don't discount going to a Costco.
Do the best you can with what's available to you and what you can afford. The best is all you can do. And it also too, for me, becomes a little bit of a game. I'm not a shoe shopper, but I'm definitely I want to find the perfect brisket shopper. So that's my hobby. And some might argue that a pair of shoes and a brisket might cost the same. Yeah. And I'm okay with that.
Andy, let's take one more question, because we're going a little long in the tooth here, and then we'll call it a night.
By the way, Booma, we talked about peanut oil earlier in the thing.
This is from VAC 373. Had a colonoscopy. They found and removed some polyps. Doctors now saying I should be on a low-fat, high-fiber diet. How does NSNG do with colon health, and are there ways to get enough fiber?
I will never go against what any doctor tells a patient.
Great.
So if that's what your doctor told you, that's what you have to go with. Now, that being said, I would find a new doctor. I had a colonoscopy a while back, and nothing. She knows what I do for a living, and she knows the whole deal. She did not tell me to go on a high fiber diet. There is no study out there that shows that a high fiber diet does anything in particular except screws up your colon, makes it weaker. So I'm not telling you to go against your doctor. I'm saying find different advice. Basically, I'm telling you, go find a doctor that knows what the hell they're talking about.
I can speak about my own experience in doing NSNG for 11 years. And I had my very first colonoscopy. And you want to know how many polyps I had?
I'm going to go with somewhere between 0 and maybe they thought something was popping up, but they weren't sure.
Absolutely none. 0.
There you go.
Now, is that because NSNG works so great for me? Is it because I'm just not well, actually, my dad has had issues. But I don't know. I don't know the reason, but I do know that I'm not going to change anything that I'm doing. That's all I'm going to say.
And here's the other thing. This is a more important note for everyone still here. Go, if you're of any age past, what is it, 45, go get a colonoscopy. Just go
100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. Here's the thing. Well, go ahead, Andy. Go ahead.
No, all I was going to say was, and because this is a question, I don't mean to be too graphic here, but we're talking about gut health and colon and all that stuff. Everybody's different in terms of your bowel patterns and habits. And some people, and Vinnie and I have had this conversation many times, some people will move their bowels once a day, or sometimes even once every other day. And that's normal for them. Other people, like myself, will move their bowels multiple times a day. And if that's normal for you, that's normal for you. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong or right. It's just normal for you. If you have a colonoscopy, if you have no other reason to suspect anything wrong, once every 5 years is enough, starting at, I think they used to say 50, now they're saying 45. Just to make sure.
Yeah.
But if your bowel, sort of patterns are different than other people you might talk about bowel movements with, don't stress over that. Everybody's body is different.
Yeah. And look, prevention is what it's all about when it comes to medicine. I harped on the standard of care, which we need to because it sucks. But you have to advocate for yourself. And prevention, look, I almost died because I didn't know I had leukemia. Had they caught that much earlier, it would have been a much easier time. Our good friend Gina Grad's dad died of exactly the same leukemia I had. And he's the guy that went out and ran 10 miles every day. The guy was in incredible shape. And the same cancer took him down.
Wow.
The bottom line is you have to advocate for yourself. You have to get things checked. And it's the only way to stay healthy. It's where we are.
That's right. Listen, thank you, everybody. We're going to cut it off here because we've gone a little over an hour and a half now. Thank you all so much for joining us. We really enjoyed this. I can speak for myself. I'm sure Vinnie and Anna agree that this was really fun to do.
It was awesome. Thanks for being here.
We will be doing more of these. And just one last time, I'm going to test my technical chops here. I'm going to put up our banner one more time. Do take advantage because we are running our 3-year anniversary special because it's exactly today that we launched NSNG Foods and UltraFat. So use that promo code anniversary, save 20%, 25%, and that is going through next Monday. So it's going through the end of the month. That's all the pitching I'm going to do. Again, thank you all. This is going to live permanently on the NSNG Foods YouTube channel. It will not live permanently on Vinnie's channel, but it will live permanently. If you want to watch it again, you want to recommend it to friends, they want to watch it, it will be there forever and a day on NSNG Foods YouTube channel. Thanks again, and goodbye.
Good night.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, guys.